Chapter 197 Demonic Beast, Giant Centipede. I've arrived. Which cave is this? After 4 hours, Han Li stood on a black rock about half a person high. He was sizing up a cave opening that was several meters tall. It seems to be nothing out of the ordinary. Han Li didn't rashly enter but instead carefully observed the surroundings for a while. Although it could be said he was running short on time, he would never carelessly put himself into danger. The secret cave mentioned in the information would appear quite unremarkable from the outside. As Han Li was traveling, he saw many similar simple caves in the wild that lacked even the slightest remarkable trait. He also didn't know how the original founders were able to discover this cave. This caused Han Li to admire them even more. After the time it took to make a cup of tea, Han Li was convinced that there weren't any demonic beasts or anybody laying in ambush nearby and carefully walked toward the cave. The cave was completely natural and consisted of a light azure mountain stone. There were no traces of artificial digging within. Han Li came to this conclusion after he looked at the cave walls as he walked toward the cave. Then, Han Li's body flashed and stealthily walked into the cave. However, just as he walked about 10 steps, Han Li stopped. This was because after he turned 2 corners, his surroundings had already become pitch dark. Han Li wrinkled his brow and searched through his storage pouch, taking out a moonlight stone the size of an egg. After he took it out, a soft white light clearly illuminated the vicinity. When Han Li saw this, he could not help but shake his head. His original intention was to silently tread deeper into the depths of the cave and see whether or not there was a demonic beast guarding within. If there was one, Han Li would stealthily give it a lethal strike and save his effort. However, with the appearance of the moonlight stone, he became a clear target. How could he mount a sneak attack now? Han Li lightly held the shining moonlight stone in his hand. After a moment of hesitation, he used his other hand to slap on an earth attribute defensive barrier. Then he crouched and continued on with light steps. As the cave's interior was not spacious like the wilds, his fast movement technique was certain to meet restrictions. With a layer of protection on his body, he was much more at ease. Although his speed was greatly reduced, he obviously couldn't choose to have both speed and protection. Han Li clearly understood this and therefore had no complaints about it. This cave was very long and narrow. After Han Li walked for no less than a quarter hour, he saw no sign of reaching the end. This caused his heart to feel apprehension, and he could not help but doubt that he had found the wrong location and instead found a nest of top-grade demonic beasts. Fortunately, after walking several tens of meters, Han Li's worry had disappeared once he looked to the corner on his left. That was because at the left corner, there were many faint white lights illuminating his sight. When Han Li saw this, his heart was filled with joy. He quickly put away his moonlight stone and quietly walked through. Since this place already had lights located at the corners, it seemed he would be able to continue on with his original plan. Stealthily, Han Li slowly peeked the corner and what he saw caused him joy. But soon after, he was inwardly grumbling. In front of him was truly the end of the cave. Furthermore, it was a large natural stone hall. Not only were there many shining glittering stalactites, but near the interior there was a small purple stone wall with 3 to 4 small light azure flowers growing on it. These small flowers were about an inch large. Their several petals were all bafflingly curled in the same direction, unexpectedly creating a unique appearance. From a distance it looked as if they were several small monkeys smiling at something comical. This truly caused one to be greatly startled. There is no question, these are definitely the purple monkey flowers. Although the color of its petals and stem were azure, it was because they aren't mature yet. After Han Li saw these flowers, he immediately thought this with a pleasant surprise. However, when he turned his gaze toward the ground below the azure stone wall, Han Li's expression immediately grew bitter. There was actually a giant centipede about 3 meters long lying on its stomach. It had shiny pitch-black spikes on its shell, antennas about a meter long, and a terrifying sinister appearance. Without moving, Han Li became greatly frightened. Although he had yet to kill any poisonous insect demonic beasts, he had long heard of their terrible reputation. According to others, poisonous insect demonic beasts were far more troublesome than bird or beast-type demonic beasts. Furthermore, the majority of them had extremely powerful poison, often causing people to die immediately upon contact. That was why, if it wasn't required, it was no wonder people avoided provoking this kind of demonic beasts as much as possible. Since the centipede was this large, at the very least, it should be a medium-level demonic beast. Being high-level also wouldn't be out of the question. As such, how could Han Li not take in a cold breath and grimace? Now, he had to provoke it, as this centipede was guarding the purple monkey flowers. If he did not take care of this large poisonous insect, to think of picking the spiritual medicines off the wall was pure idiocy. Han Li held his breath and slowly withdrew his head. His movements were extremely careful to avoid waking up the huge centipede that seemed asleep. He leaned against the stone wall, and with wrinkled eyebrows, he lowered his head, pondering how he should deal with this demonic beast. By relying on the might of his top-grade magic tools, attacking rashly wouldn't be out of the question. By just using the golden light brick treasure talisman, he would be able to flatten the demonic beast in one slam. However, that action would consume quite a bit of magic power, and he would be unable to maintain his peak condition. The road back was still quite long. He was certain that he would be facing more and more dangers, and because he had to rush against time, he could not spend half a day to travel back, meditate, and replenish his magic power. After a long period of deep thought, Han Li had a moment of brilliance and thought of a good plan. Before he made a move, he first cautiously stretched his neck to take a look at the centipede. When he saw that it was sitting there motionlessly, he calmed down. He then faintly smiled and disappeared into the darkness of the path. Not long after, Han Li then returned, beaming with happiness. The protective barrier he wore could no longer be seen. Furthermore, he did not continue moving stealthily but rather turned the corner with a swagger, walking into the large hall where the giant centipede lay. With Han Li's loud movements, how could the giant centipede not notice? If it hadn't, a better name for it would have been stupid beast instead of demonic beast. When it saw Han Li, the several-meter-long centipede immediately grew vigilant and raised its head. It continuously waved two coarse long antennas that released strange and extremely frightening hissing noises. When Han Li saw this, he did not say anything and merely raised his hand. Several small fireballs flew toward it at extreme speeds and struck the beast's head, producing a series of explosions. After the blaze faded away, Han Li clearly saw the demonic beast's head remain a shiny jet black after being struck by the fireballs, and it actually hadn't left the slightest mark, leaving Han Li speechless. It seemed that what others had told him wasn't wrong. This poisonous insect demonic beast was truly troublesome. Although the huge centipede did not receive any injuries, it was thoroughly infuriated by Han Li's recent provocation. From its mouth two sharp teeth, it shot out a cloud of red poison mist, overbearingly surrounding Han Li. It seemed it wanted to drown Han Li in the poison. Han Li naturally wouldn't foolishly stay still and allow even the slightest of this incomparably strange poison to touch him. Without a protective barrier slowing him down, as the tip of his feet touched the ground, he became faster than the poison mist flying around in the cave and turned around, running out of the tunnel. It appeared as if he was afraid of the demonic beast's poison mist and fled from defeat. The huge centipede naturally did not let Han Li easily leave, and it slithered extremely fast toward him. It followed him through the large hall as if it were a gust of wind. It seemed that its mad rush was not slower than Han Li's speed. When Han Li turned his head to take a look, he became shocked and quickened his pace, increasing the distance between them and disappearing into the passage. The giant centipede hissed strange sounds and followed without hesitation. The demonic beast had slithered through this passage countless times. It was naturally much more familiar with it than Han Li and was able to chase him down not long after. At this point, it could already clearly see Han Li's back. The demonic beast's centipede was greatly pleased. Its feet grew faster, fiercely charging forward. At this moment, Han Li suddenly stopped. He actually turned his head around, looking at the demonic beast with a chuckle and no longer running any further. It seemed that he completely abandoned the idea of running. As such, in the blink of an eye the giant centipede leaped toward Han Li, who was only about 10 meters away. Just as it was about to joyfully tear and ravage the small human before it with its fangs, it felt a fierce pain from its abdomen, causing it to stop. It immediately fell to the floor from the pain as black poisonous blood spurted forth from its body. Although it did not know when, the huge centipede had unexpectedly been cut by an extremely sharp blade at its weakest part, the abdomen. Without knowing, it was neatly cut open and actually received a large wound. With such a mortal wound, it was no wonder the centipede was suffering this much. Standing to the side, Han Li naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity to beat it while it was down. He raised his hand and released a sphere of golden light, and a sparkling blue wind blade toward the centipede's two antennas.